Before I start on this review, this opinion piece, this assessment and examination of a Spider-Man movie, I want to make a few things clear. I haven't been the biggest Tom Holland fan, and I don't praise his Spider-Man movies because I was never really fond of his version of the character. I enjoyed Far From Home the first time I watched it, only to find it boring the second time. It is actually what broke this incarnation of Spider-Man for me. So when I heard there was a new Spider-Man movie, I wasn't really excited. It didn't tingle my spidey sense. That is until the first trailer dropped.
Hello, Peter.
No matter what feelings I had previously for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I knew that if I watched this movie, it has to be on opening night amongst a crowd. That opening night thing didn't happen, but I went in and watched this movie, and it was something else. When I was standing in line at my local Cineplex, I couldn't shake the feeling that this movie might become somewhat reliant on nostalgia. This is probably an argument that has already erupted in someone's Instagram comment section, but it is a fear that I want to address. Although the movie was marketed as a multiverse Spider-Man movie, I felt like this movie was going to rely too much on the returning cast of characters rather than conjure up a good plot. I felt that it may be similar to Far From Home, but due to the status of characters in the lineup, it won't matter how wonky and unstable the plot may be because, oh look, it's Doc Ock! Regardless, I went in because it was too late to get a refund and watched Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie may be the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie to date. It is an accumulation of 20 years of Spider-Man cinema coming together to create one of the best Spider-Man movies I have ever seen. The movie has its flaws, so I'm not going to pretend it doesn't exist. I'm going to give a rundown of the movie's events and point out stuff I liked, didn't like, and just kind of tell you about the general plot. So the movie starts off where Spider-Man Far From Home left off. Peter gets his identity revealed, which causes mass panic as he is now portrayed as a murderer. This reveal starts affecting the lives of everyone close to him, so in a desperate attempt he asks Doctor Strange to make everyone forget who Spider-Man is. But this spell causes a multiversal collide? I don't know, place went boom. And this causes all the villains from previous Spider-Man movies to enter this universe. The first half of the movie feels like your standard MCU Spider-Man flick, and when watching that half, I felt that this was going to be the multiversal Far From Home movie. The movie started out this way. It was comedy filled, very lighthearted, regardless of the situation Spider-Man was caught in, and it felt like Far From Home. But nope. Complete 180 once all the villains come through. Peter gets to talk to most of these villains, which is really nice, and he gets some good moments with them. William Dafoe's Green Goblin is probably one of the best and most standout villain in this entire movie, in that he is the driving force that leads to the final fight. And when Peter is capturing these villains, he is told by Strange that all the villains are meant to die fighting Spider-Man. This conflicts with Peter as it should, and after a talk with Aunt May, he decides to take the chance at saving them before sending them back to their respective universes. This is also where Spider-Man and Doctor Strange fight, and I'm not going to lie, no matter how cool the fight was, it didn't really make much sense. In that Spider-Man beats Strange with math. Wait, did I get that right? Yep, Spider-Man is using the quadratic formula to beat Strange, a highly superior sorcerer dubbed Sorcerer Supreme. I guess math over magic. Yeah, the whole fight didn't really work for me. It just felt like it was done for the lone purpose of letting Spider-Man win so that the plot can move forward. But anyways, Spider-Man wins, takes all the villains to his apartment where he tries to conjure up a cure for each of the villains. He is only able to replace Doc Ock's implanted microchip, thus curing him until all hell breaks loose. And before we get to that, I just want to say that Peter uses a Tony Stark arc reactor powered crafting bench to create all this. Which I guess is fine, but is literally just a plot device so that characters can do anything. It's not really in tone with Spider-Man, but it is also something we have seen in Far From Home, so points for consistency, I guess. Back to the part where all hell breaks loose, Osborn goes rogue, again. All the villains escape, and in the process, they cause thousands of dollars in damage, and Aunt May gets a broken back. The fight scene is actually pretty cool, and Dafoe brings it as Green Goblin more in this movie than he does in Spider-Man 1. In the process, Aunt May gets killed, and before she does, she gives the famous Uncle Ben "with great power comes great responsibility" speech. And personally, I think the scene is done very well. Tom's performance, the situation, it all works in making Spider-Man Spider-Man, but the only downside is Aunt May herself. I feel like this could have been done way better had Aunt May been more Aunt May-like, the way she was in previous Spider-Man movies. This version of Aunt May has always been this hot single mom and nothing more, and so the responsibility speech seems out of character. But Spider-Man also needs this talk, and he needs this moment, so I feel that regardless of the way Aunt May has been handled prior, it works for the character of Peter and Spider-Man. This brings us to the final bit of this movie. While Peter mourns May's death, Ned and MJ try to contact Peter with no avail. So Ned tries to portal to oh yeah, I forgot to mention about Ned can open portals now. Yeah, it's convenient, I know. But yeah, Ned opens a portal and we see none other than Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man walk through it. This is probably one of the most memorable moments in the movie because of how much fans wanted this, because of how much I wanted this, and because of how much Andrew tried to deny this. Ned tries again and we get Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and that's all we need. 10 out of 10. Bye bye. But seriously, the cheers and applause in the movie room, seeing two iconic Spider-Man actors, is something we might never experience again. That feeling might never come back, and I couldn't stop recalling the scene in my head over and over. It's only sad that this moment is boiled down and shot in Ned's grandma's house. Yeah, don't get me wrong, still a memorable moment, but I feel it should have been more extravagant than it actually was. All the Spider-Man meet up, bond, share stories, and come together to stop the sinister villains lurking in the universe that isn't there. They make cures, talk about Peter's wrist webs, and praise the other Peter, and we get a "my back" joke.
My back! Oh, my back!
I wish I could have shown some footage. The final fight has a lot of amazing moments and fan service, and the Spider-Man swing is just, well, amazing. Once they defeat all the bad guys, the multiverse is breaking through, and Spider-Man makes a sacrifice by convincing Strange to cast the same spell, but instead make everyone forget the existence of Peter Parker. Peter, Ned, and MJ have a heart-to-heart, and all the villains and Spider-Men go back to their universes. And pretty much end of the movie. This movie has a lot of nostalgia-filled moments, and I think it executes it pretty well. I think the movie runs on the concept of this being Spider-Man's origin story, in that he experiences a life-altering event which pushes him to becoming Spider-Man. Although Peter has been Spider-Man prior to this, he's mainly only been Spider-Man by name, if that makes any sense. Looking at the trilogy now, it kind of makes me appreciate the previous movies a bit more. Saying that, I still think the movie has its own problems. The CGI doesn't look finished entirely, and I know there was a pandemic and stuff, but we have had other movies being made during the same time, so yeah. I don't know, the CGI didn't pull me out of the movie, but it was noticeable from time to time. Also the green screen. Solo shot character shit Marvel has been doing has got to go. It is way too noticeable in this movie. By that, what I mean is Marvel films many characters separately and then edits it together to create the feeling that they're in the same space. They have been doing this for a while, but it is just more noticeable in this movie. Finally, the color grading feels flat in this movie. It doesn't feel awe-inspiring, and this seems to be a criticism I've seen many give. It's not something huge for me personally, I just wanted to point it out. I still enjoy this movie regardless of the flaws I pointed out. It seems like a one-in-a-lifetime type of moment, and I'm hoping that on rewatches I can still enjoy the movie as I did the first time, breaking the Spider-Man second watch no likey effect. I give this movie an Aunt May broken back out of a Ben Parker shot. And that will be all.
See you, chump. What the hell?